All right, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We've got people from around APAC joining us for our Feedback Aide webinar, so thank you very much. Mark, if you wouldn't mind going on to the next slide, please.
Yeah.
And the next one. So I wanted to give all of you a very quick overview of Learnosity, and I want to start off by, covering our manifesto. Learnosity is a company that's headquartered in Dublin, Ireland, and we have offices in Sydney and New York as well. And here are some of our, manifesto, right? As you can see, technology is built on the foundation of our manifesto. Some of our core beliefs are really that education is a human right, and do the right thing as always, and we aim higher, and success is best shared. So these are really our key manifesto. Next slide, please, Mark. So just wanted to share with you a quick slide in terms of our customers. We're a global organization. We have about 750 customers around the world. You see some really big names on the screen here. But our customers consist of startups, medium-sized companies, and large enterprise organizations as well. Next slide, please, Mark. And this slide really speaks to the scale of Learnosity. We work with something like 40 million active learners on an annual basis. We are an assessment company. We provide online assessments, so something like 19 billion questions are delivered annually. We have an uptime of 99.95, which is really very important for our customers around the world, and something like 41 billion API requests will go through our platform all the time. So really, we are an API based solution, a white label organization, and this really speaks to the scale that we manage. Next slide, please. And so with that, welcome to attendees around APAC. So we've got people from India, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Australia, New Zealand joining us, Korea and Japan as well. So welcome everyone, and I'll hand you over to our co-founder and Chief Strategy Officer, Mark Lynch, who will start us off with the webinar. So over to you, Mark.
Awesome. Thanks, Vikna. And thanks everybody for spending some time with us today. And yeah, look forward to seeing questions as we go forward. And as we get to the end, we'll address as many of those as I can. But let me tell you about Feedback Aide and what it is and where it fits. Basically, leveraging AI and new AI to really well, let me go and state the problem. So students, a lot of learners, face some daunting challenges. There's a lot of learning, there's a lot of assessment, and a key piece around this is that feedback is essential. So to earn and to get feedback, we know from John Hattie's research, there's a lot of feedback is one of the key pieces to show you whether you're progressing and actually helps you drive your progression. So this is where we start with Feedback Aide. And it's essential for students. One of the key challenges though is that, and educators know this, and know it's a critical part of learning, uh, but educators are struggling. So teachers on average spend 5 hours per week grading homework. So we know this. This is, you know, varies a bit across the world, but in general, there is not enough time to do all the work that needs to be done. And the dedicated teachers are doing, work outside of hours to get this feedback because they know it's so essential to students. So feedback on written work. College professors spend huge amounts of work on this. I know this. My sister is a professor in the UK, and I know every June bank holiday, she spends the entire weekend grading papers. So for her end of year exam students. So it's a huge problem. It's really hard, but it's also super important. There's also a quality gap between new teachers and experienced teachers. Who experienced teachers can do it faster. They can't do it instantly, but they can do it faster and can do it at better quality. So we want to use that. We really see this as a human in the loop solution here. So let me talk a bit further about that. So basically, without because it is valuable, but it is hard. We're not getting the behaviors that we want. We're getting less authentic assessment, so less essays. We know they're valuable. We have burnout that leads to teacher shortages. Lower quality feedback doesn't help. It needs to be good quality feedback. Uh, and ultimately, this leads to less effective education, which is where we bring in Feedback Aide. So, assistive grading tool, powered by AI, developed by our team of assessment experts. Well, let's stop and zero in on the name for a second. So, feedback. There's a huge focus. This is getting actionable individual feedback for each student that every teacher wants to deliver, but doesn't have the hours in the day to deliver. So, an aid, because it's an assistive technology for teachers, as opposed to something that's we see it replacing teachers. We don't see that. We see it as assisting, helping to build great feedback and to provide reliable human level accuracy scores. So, how does it do this? It speeds up essay grading while maintaining educator control. With the grading burden lower, educators are more likely to use authentic assessments, and the high quality feedback gets students to learn faster. And I'll show you, like it's got high level human accuracy, extremely high consistency. I'm going to show you the data for this in a few minutes, but it also improves the consistency of feedback for larger scale assessments. So I'm just going to talk about some of this approach. Back in the day, this essay grading is not new. Auto grading. It was just very difficult with old fashioned AI. How you used to do it was you'd get 1,000 essays, you would get them trained into a model to recognize them as good essays, and then you could grade the next 1,000 or 10,000 essays. So we've got a lot of years. We have like 370 million items, questions in our item banks across all of our customers. Uh, Approximately 15% of those are essays. That's 55 million essays. However, most of the essays used in formative assessment, uh, they just don't get 1,000 responses. So the old AI piece doesn't work for that. So this is what we want to do is approach this entirely differently and allow it to work without having to train on each question. And you can have formative assessments created by a teacher or an academic higher at a university, and it will be able to grade it with reliable accuracy. So now, yeah, basically, it is feasible to do both formative and small as well as large scale assessments. So with that, let me kind of have a quick demo, and hopefully my screen plays nice. Okay, so this is a plugged in demo of Feedback Aide, and probably a piece I suspect most people know, but I'll loop back is Learnosity APIs is focused on APIs building into other people's systems. So in this scenario here, wrong button, uh, this here is the Feedback Aide API. We happen to be just having a little demo around it. And I talked through this. This here is the question that was asked the student. This is the student's response all the way down to here. And this is a rubric. So the way this works in general would be as a teacher, I would go through, I'd review that, I'd read the essay, I'd review that, and I would provide feedback in here, which takes a lot of time. It's super valuable, but it takes a lot of time. So I'm going to submit that, and I'm going to show you Feedback Aide running. So this is the same question, a different essay, and what we've done here is configure it to kick off automatically and have this go through and do the grading and do feedback. And what you can see in the background, it's a little bit faint, but is it's filled in these gaps, and these are highlighting it as AI graded. It then also provides really useful specific feedback for each of these points. Uh, as a teacher, I can go, oh, actually, no, I think that I did spot a couple of errors, so I'd like to change that. So again, that view of the human teacher very much in control, or you can provide a bit more analysis into the feedback, or if you don't want to go there. So let me just move on and kind of do a quick canter through some of the key features we have. This is another essay, basically exact same essay, just grading it at a different level. Excuse me, or the essay is of a different level of quality, so it's going to grade it down at this level. So you can see we get a score of 10 out of 25, and and explains if you go and do it, strengthen the argument by incorporating specific statistics. And as we go through here, we can also we've designed this to take all of the existing rubrics that are out there that people are used to using and making it work with those rather than needing very specific rubrics for this. And as we continue to work with our customers, we've seen lots of different types. We'll continue to add those to it. So this is obviously one where you can have different grade levels across the rubric, and it can handle that and grade it and provide the same feedback. And keep get through. And we also have added support well back for holistic rubrics, which is typically instead of the full table, it's taken all of the key context that's in the rubric and providing a score anywhere, typically 1 to 5, 1 to 6, and providing feedback on that. So I like it here. So talking about specific quotes, things like that in it, which is really powerful. And now, so the other pieces that we've seen, and again, this got added from feedback from customers, is pieces like detecting when it's not scoreable. Basically, this is nothing to do with the question. This is not a persuasive essay. This is somebody has uploaded something. We got this from real world samples where people, this is what gets submitted, and we can add a bit of streamline into the whole processes here by detecting it's off topic and sending it back. So this will flag it as not scoreable and provides feedback. In the event that for some reason is wrong or the teacher does want to score it, they can always override again. And I'll show you a more subtle example of that, so just to show how the AI works. So this one is not completely, well, it looks a lot closer to something here, but it's on the completely wrong topic. This is about the concept of work and does not address the topic of distance learning. So I'm going to reject that. So that's an optional feature. You can decide to take everything through, or you can decide to reject on topics. So now, one other piece that has come out again, a lot from feedback is, does it work in other languages? I recently released this, which is I'm very excited about. So this is in French, question in French, response in French, entire rubric in French, and it will happily grade it with the same level of accuracy and provide feedback in French. Now, I studied French, but I know when I was starting French, it was really hard to, if you get this while you're learning a language, you're not going to understand the feedback, and so that's not valuable. Which is why we have the ability also to do it with, I can write my essay in French, I can get the feedback in the rubric in English, and it will provide me feedback in English so I can understand what I'm doing wrong. But yeah, so that's kind of a high level run through of all of or some of the different features. And so I want to jump back over here and carry on. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in and we'll come back to them as well. Okay, so one of the key questions is how accurate is it? Does it, how do you know it's human level accurate? And these are some of the pieces that we've been looking at. So how we approach this is we worked with both public and private data sets where we have permission from some of our customers to use data sets, or they've given us data sets for testing that we're allowed to use. We've got 50,000 human graded essay responses that we're able to test against across a whole mix of analytic and holistic rubrics uh, from grade 3 through university across a whole load of different essay types. So, and this is basically to, kind of building out that bank to ensure that the models are doing what we expect and testing them to make sure they keep doing what we expect them to do and can validate that. So a key piece that Learnosity is doing here is the hard work to validate it and prove that it works and works reliably every time. So to explain how we work on the accuracy, we use a piece called I'll kind of need to explain some of this. One of the key measures of accuracy is called a quick score, quadratic weighted kappa score. This has been used by psychometricians for years to understand how closely two humans would mark. And we're using it for AI as well. So this is in a scenario where something like high stakes end of year assessment, think year 12 exams like the HSC or the Torium VCs, it will get double marked, and the comparison of how the grades are between each teacher will be calculated. And in this scenario, using a quick score, like if you're scoring something between 0.41 to zero point 0.6, you probably need more training. You may not be coming back next year to do the high stakes assessment. 0.61 to zero point 0.8 is average grade, like it's good. Uh, it's not. This is a score where you're within the band. Obviously, at the top end of that band, you're doing very well. And 0.81 to zero point 0.1 is absolute expert grader. You rarely see, you'll never see one, but you will see very high levels of that. And so we can use this score for two human scoring. On many of the item banks we have uh, two human scores on it so that we can validate how that is. It's not like the answer for this is always you should get one. It is very much not the case. But we can compare two human scores, we can compare human against an AI score, and we can compare two AI scores. And so accuracy, how we're looking at accuracy is when we compare feedback aid against a human. And that's our accuracy. Are we doing what a well-trained teacher is going to do, or an expert grader is going to do? And then we have another piece, which is consistency, which is if we run the same model that we have on the same set of data, how consistent is that? So two runs of feedback aid again compared against each other. So let me talk about where we are with when we started our first release in June, and this is a standard model. I will flag there's two different models. There's a standard and advanced model using different levels of technology behind the scenes. So our standard model in June last year, 2024, was doing it at 0.49, which we weren't real happy with, but it was had some potential. Uh, by August, we got that up to 0.58, and by November up to 0.67, which is back in the uh, you know, they're a solid grader who's been well trained. So by November, it's improved since then. I just don't have the updated data for that yet. And then we have our advanced model, and this started out back in June as zero point 0.6, again, right at that level of a good grader. And then we increased it in additional testing, validation, and improvements to 0.69. Uh, and then by November, we have it up to 0.77, which is going into that expert grade. And in some cases, it's above that level, and we're continuing to improve that. But on average, it's getting significantly better, and we see that going there. We also see the advanced model, uh, some of the features and development of that trickles down into the standard model. So we expect to see both of these continuing to improve, and they already have improved from this data set. Okay, and this is a useful visualization of some of the analysis that we do. So this is across a data set of 800 essays that has 8 traits, so basically 8 pieces in the rubric, and there's a total of 32 marks for it. And across the bottom axis here, we have the human score, and going up the y-axis, we have the feedback aid score. And so perfect score is up this axis here. It would be 1 if every single piece aligned perfectly there. So, but this is actually a very good result. What we can see is that's at a 0.91 result. So that's highly accurate, well into the expert grader, and better than 2 humans scoring it in many cases on this data. So this is zero training on this. I mentioned, we're doing a lot of testing against data. We're not doing training against the data. So this is not us overfitting the data to it. It is testing and making sure that the model understands it so that it can grade it. And yeah, we're continuing to work and iterate on that and show the improvements on it. And I'm just going to dive in here to some of the traits. So this is one of the traits, and this is ideas and elaboration. And in this scenario, it's actually getting a 0.82. So for an individual trait, this is very good comparison. We shared this with some of our customers, as like College Board or in the US, people who psychometricians there who really know their stuff, and they were very impressed with this. So I was kind of very happy to hear that. So anything above a 0.7 on a trait like this is seen as exceptional. So we get a 0.82. Very happy with that. It means we're getting it very accurate. But then here's another trait. This is one of the traits that's not scoring quite as well on, which is spelling. And so we're a little bit underscoring on that. So we're going to continue working on that. But if you look over on the right hand side here, we can see a lot of these pieces, like it's almost the pieces that the computers to date have not been good at scoring, we're scoring really well on. So punctuation, sentence structure, spelling, they're areas we're going to be able to continue to enhance this model. And kind of they're partially solved problems. We just need to layer them in and be able to increase accuracy even more. So, and as I mentioned, consistency earlier. So this is comparison of multiple runs Feedback Aide against the same data set. So it's not basically checking that doesn't give the same reliable, repeatable result every time. And these are the levels we are seeing. So we're now up at 0.98 and 0.95, which is incredibly accurate. It's more accurate than most, let's say, HSC markers doing. If you do 2 exams on that, it will be more accurate than that. Okay. So actually, one piece I was kind of flag on this before I go into this, we set out to change how AI grading is done, as I mentioned earlier. It's been a problem that has been available. You've been able to solve this for high stakes scenarios where you get 1,000 essays and you have to train it. But it's a heavy, expensive, painful piece. So and it costs $1 an essay graded. So where we play is we work with large customers and at scale. At scale, we're aiming for pricing around a cent an essay for 250 word essay. So that's a lot of essays, and it's 2 orders of magnitudes cheaper than it has been. Uh, so what this enables, is both from a pricing perspective and from a functionality perspective, is to use it in way more places. We see this dramatically increasing the size of the market because it can work in homework, you can do a lot more authentic assessment, it can be used in a lot of places. We also see it as high stakes. we didn't design it for high stakes grading, but we see there's some use cases here for second graders for checking consistency and validation on that. So we've got that feedback from our customers that they're interested to use it for that. We're also seeing it being used for pre-submission. So before it goes to a teacher to be graded, it might have a quick pre-check so the student can get some early feedback on it before they submit it and go like, are you happy with this? This is an indicative mark of what you might get, and they're able to do that. And the student can either go, yeah, I need to submit it, or they can rework it. So yeah, and then also in language learning, which is why we've added some of these language pieces around it. So we see a lot again places where feedback is really valuable and understanding that, and it's expensive to currently deliver. Uh, so I want to kind of cover some of the other key features and roadmap. I'm handling for time. Okay, I think. So
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
showed
Mark.
kind of
I'll just
yeah, go ahead, pick that.
make a quick reminder here. If you have any questions at all, we're starting to get a few come through. Please drop it in the chat box, and we'll answer those questions at the end. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead, Mark.
no, awesome, thank you. So yeah, I kind of covered off kind of the core basic functionality of it, but we're also continuing to iterate on additional pieces or pieces, so like some time saving and safety features. So one of the pieces that came up, and I'm not entirely sure how well you'll be able to see that, so I'll describe it, which is this is identifying basically moderation or content of concern. So we had requests from a lot of people, and it's to be able to kind of flag if students say something around self-harm or violence, so they can go into existing reporting processes. We don't do anything like that or an alert our customers, and then they can decide what the process is to do that. It's obviously an optional feature. You can use it or you cannot use it. We also have, I demoed the off topic, so you can enable or disable topic detection. So it will flag how related it has to be to the topic you're asking. And you can kind of filter it like that as well. And we also have structure checks. So it's like, this should have an essay should have this many paragraphs. This is what we're looking at, and it will reject it otherwise. So that's all available now. It's been out in the wild and being used. It's helpful. Uh, So that's for me forgetting to put do not disturb on. Love it. So we also mentioned multi-language support. So we released this recently, and these are the current languages supported. So we're doing validation on these, and they're available for use now. We're continuing to work through and ensure that they're working as expected. So yeah, very exciting to see that. The whole interface is translatable into any language, but these are the languages that we can provide feedback in. So, which is again available, that is available right now, can be used. Now, let me go on to some other pieces that are coming. It's a place we've struggled with in the past, or I suspect everyone on this call who's asked questions of students has struggled with when, short answers are notoriously tricky because students will put in a lot of different answers to it, and parsing that and understanding that with a regex or multiple options has always been tricky and fraught. And as we started testing around this, we've seen, yeah, this is working really well because it understands uh, the context an awful lot more, and frankly, a lot more than I did in many cases. I had to Google who Caractacus was for this question. Right, he's a king in ancient times in the UK around the River Thames, and when the Romans invaded, he was losing. He fled to southern Wales and regrouped the tribe there. But yeah, the working off the real data around this, we're able to get it to accurately do it and do it at the level that level human level grading of it, which again opens up a whole load of use cases for our customers and saves a whole lot of time for their customers who are to be the end users. So this is coming soon. We're doing a lot of testing on it at the moment, and yeah, keep your ears open for announcements on that. And then I'm going to show you a couple of things that are related to short answer. And this is the first time they have ever been shown outside of our internal pieces. This is another short answer type, but it's about categorizing. So we're looking at different rubrics around this or different ways to score it. And so this is basically an accounting level question. So talking about here's a business, there's the outgoings associated with our business. Can you classify those into variable and fixed costs? This is the student answer written in just straight text. And what we're able to do is create a simple rubric for that and provide feedback directly as well. So in this scenario, you got 6 items: one, the salary, van depreciation, van expenses as fixed costs, and petrol, electricity, and casual labor as variable costs. But you missed 2 variables: detergent and laundry machine depreciation. So you get 6 out of 8. So 2 things about this. One is I'm really impressed with the feedback it's generating. We've been able to, yeah, just happy with that and the fact that it can do this level of question and this level of detail. And similarly, so that's coming soon. Keep an eye out for that. There's a similar one that is key points. So you'll probably recognize a lot of this as well, where here, is a retailer again, another kind of more complex question. And I know people talk about how AI is, notoriously poor at maths. That was the case. It's getting to be a lot less, and this is more about the understanding. We're seeing it actually getting very good at these word problems with appropriate tuning, prompting, and safety mechanisms in place. So this is a scenario where around this business that gives, variable costs will be this. Here's 3 alternative strategies. I suppose you calculate the break-even point if the original proposal is adopted, which is option 1. And the key points that are part of the rubric is the contribution per unit, and the break-even point is that. And I'll just show you 2 examples of the feedback on this. So here's one example: break-even point, fixed costs, that, and calculates that. And so we can see, yeah, correctly calculated both the per unit implicitly shown in the formula and the break-even point of 34,000 units. So they were accurate and the correct formula was applied. And then as we go further, this is another student response where this answer is missing a little bit of formatting in it. But the key piece here is that it's correctly distinguishing that it should have been, you provided the value of the actual monetary value instead of the number of units, and it's providing that feedback. So in this scenario, you only get 1 out of 2 points. So yeah, we think this is opening up a whole many new areas and places where you can put these questions in that work at the kind of higher order pedagogy. So yeah, excited to see where this can be used by our customers. So that is also coming very soon. A few other pieces that are coming is one piece that's in the pipeline at the moment, will be coming out very shortly, is support for text-based sources. So I think if you have a passage or a poem or something else that is part of the question, you're able to add that in, and it will get used in the analysis of it. That's been a gap at the moment. That's going to be a closed gap very shortly. Alignment against the European framework standards to do that, to basically be able to tee that up properly. For audio and video support, we have a lot of requests around that. We have it working internally, so we'll be looking at that as we go forward to take a video instead of an essay, which has been our initial focus. Take an audio recording, take a video, and provide analysis on that. So it looks transcript like that. And then also annotations we want to add where it's pointing directly, able to kind of highlight sections of it and flag, here's where you got it wrong in the essay. And so with that, kind of keen to open it up and review questions if anyone has them, and anything else I
Yeah.
missed, Victor?
Not at this stage. There are a bunch of questions, Mark, so maybe I'll read them out and you can answer them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the first question that came through is, does the feedback include suggestions to study materials as reference for aiding in better essay writing on the specified topic?
Sorry, say that one again.
Does the feedback include suggestions to study materials as reference for aiding in better essay writing on the specified topic?
It doesn't currently. I think that could be a useful and interesting piece. One thing that we have been talking to customers about is adding support for what's called RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, where if you have a textbook or series of textbooks, we could, or content related to this, we would include that in the assessment and grading and potentially link to that as well. But it doesn't do that at the moment, but that would be certainly feasible in the roadmap.
Okay. The next question is, are you using any external models or have you fine-tuned your own?
Yeah, can answer that. Say down, by the way. So yeah, we're using multiple different models. Basically, like the LLMs, we believe that they're advancing so fast. We're using those and building, you know, layers on top of that to get the performance and quality that we need, and continuing to iterate and kind of build a harness so that we can upgrade. That kind of the validation around it is a key part to go. We've seen new models come out that have been great for certain use cases, but not great for other use cases. And we'll hold off until we can get them to a place where they are better, or we'll ignore them and keep using our existing models until we can get it better.
Okay. The next question, I think you may have covered that. Do you have plans to expand Feedback Aid in languages other than English and French? I think this may have been asked before you
Yeah, I
showed that
think we've
slide.
covered that, and yeah, but I think if there is specific questions, specific languages on that, keen to discuss and see. We're always taking our customers' feedback on where they want to be working so that we can support that.
Okay. Next question, is the short answer rubric and feedback created based on only the question and answer?
Uh, it's based on question answer. If there are source materials, it can be based on that, but it's also based on uh, general knowledge as well. So we've seen it pull in the appropriate general knowledge to be able to answer it.
Okay.
If there's more on that as well, Dan, feel free to add more to that.
Yeah. Next question, is there a trial harness that can be made available to see whether this API would be useful to our business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what we've been working with our customers on is getting a subset of, like, you can provide us some data and we'll load it up into our test harness and share the results with you. So we have kind of two parts of that. One of which is gives a couple of samples and we'll load those in. You can kind of look at them and do an eyeball test and go, yeah, this looks like it's doing the right thing. And there's another example as well where kind of the next stage beyond that is if you have a large, if you want to kind of do a deeper dive assessment on the quality of it, we can run that for you as well. If you have say we have 1,000 essays that are graded, here's the essay, here's the rubric, we will run that through for you.
Thanks, Mark. Next question, regarding the API, does the tool integrate into Canvas, Moodle, and Blackboard?
It can be integrated into those pieces. It's not a drop-in tool. And that is a piece where it's designed to integrate into our customers' tools. And so if you're integrated into Canvas, Moodle, or Blackboard, you can just plug Feedback Aid into it. We'll be able to integrate quite easily. So
Great.
the answer is yes, but not directly.
All right. I think that's about it. Oh, wait, I think there's another question. Follow-up question. Do you need to build rubrics into the tool?
Yeah, so so in terms of rubrics right now, what they are is, you say built into the tool. Let me explain kind of how it works. When you need to pass a rubric to us for us to grade it. So in the creation of those rubrics, currently it's just a JSON document. And a definition says, here's what the rubric looks like. We will be building a rubric builder for it to make it easier for customers, teachers, and authors to create these. But right now it's a simple document to create and pass it in. So our thought process around that is a lot of these exist in Word documents already, around and just converting it from Word document into the format that's needed is quite simple.
Right. All right. I think that's about it. So, as the slide suggests, I just wanted to reach out and let everyone know that if you would like to actually test out, Feedback Aide, please feel free to reach out. All we need is a few sample essays. Happy to sign an NDA with you. We'll run it through Feedback Aide. We need a few essays. We need some rubrics, and we'll be able to sort of run it through and share the results with you, as Mark has mentioned. I think we have another question. Yeah. Yes. I think the question was, if you want more info, can we arrange additional session? Absolutely. More than happy to have a follow-up session with you individually. Um, so please do reach out. And I think there's another question. Okay, how do you charge using API? So I'm happy to reach out, Mustafa. I got your details here. We can actually discuss that in terms of how we can work that out for you, if that's all right. Great. So if there's no more questions, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for joining. And Mark, thanks a lot for the presentation. I think we had a really good turnout today. So thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time. And I look forward to reaching out to all of you individually and following up. So with
Thanks
that,
all.
thank you very much.